Hello, I'm Cindy Palm, lay leader at the historic First United Methodist Church in Downtown Elgin, Illinois, and this is your motivational moment from the Bible. This is an opportunity to think a bit more about the message we heard in the sermon on Sunday and offer maybe a different perspective. So let me ask you, when we went into lockdown back in March, where did you think we'd be by the time we got to August? Did you think that maybe life would somewhat be back to normal? Did you think we'd still be wearing masks? You probably thought, at the very least, that we'd be back to regular in-person church services by this time. I think we all thought that. I was actually very lucky. When I was furloughed back in April, I was told then that my company was expecting a massive decrease in operation for the remainder of 2020 due to the nature of our business. I was grateful for this insight because it set for me a very realistic expectation. It meant that when I entered the waiting room we discussed in yesterday's worship service, I'd better pick a really comfortable chair because I was going to be there for a substantial length of time. In yesterday's sermon, I talked about the waiting room, the time of waiting between our prayer and God's response, and what we do with that time. But often, it's our expectations that can make that waiting time challenging. We envision what we want or how we want things to play out, and if it doesn't happen how we want it, or more importantly, when we want it, we get frustrated, we get angry, and we grow impatient. And that's where we start to disconnect. Remember those Israelites who were exiled in Babylon? Let's go back to when they were slaves in Egypt. They prayed to God for a deliverer who would lead them to their promised land. And he did exactly that. But, excuse me, who here had 40 years on their bingo card? Anyone? And how many times did they grow impatient and frustrated with God? Seriously, I lose count. But every single time, God takes care of them. It's hard not to have expectations. There used to be an expression in the 70s, let go and let God. And yet, as Christians, I think it's one of the single most difficult things to do. But expectations are where we still hold on, where we still want control. Expectations are how we tell God to do his job. So don't be like the Israelites. Don't add unnecessary anxiety to waiting time. The only expectation you should have is in God's promise that he will provide. Take David. He had complete confidence in his ability to kill Goliath because God had already enabled him to kill a bear and a lion in protecting his sheep. David's expectation of God was his strength. A person whose name never comes up when we're talking about waiting is Jesus' mother, Mary. She knew at conception that he was the Son of God. Yet she had to wait 30 years to see how that would play out, to see what that would look like and all that it would bring. Can you even imagine? Yet she tells God right from the start, I trust you and I believe in you. Mary's expectation of God enabled her peace. So while you wait, trust God. In his time, in everything always. He will take care of you. Because find me a place in the Bible where he doesn't. That's okay. I'll wait. This is Cindy Palm here with another motivational moment from the Bible. Have a good week.